Hello.
Oh, how are we?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. We're here again. We meet again Wednesdays. God, time goes so quickly, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It does. It's suddenly like a whirlwind at the moment. Hi, Emma. Hi, Joe.
Hi. Am I on screen or not, Natalie?
Not yet.
No. Bear with. I'll just try and sort myself out.
No worries. And I think we've just got, hi, Emma. Oh, you look all cozy. And we've just got, I think we're just waiting for Lee. I'll drop her a quick message because I don't think actually she's the only one that's not met anybody in person or online actually. So yeah, let me just drop her a quick text and see how she's getting on. How is everyone doing? Had a good week so far? Anyone seen the moon? It looks lovely tonight. Massive, isn't it?
I didn't notice. I'm gonna have to look.
It was a full moon on Monday.
It was Sunday. Well, yeah, it was Sunday night. No, well, it wasn't actually Monday night, Tuesday morning. But yeah, the dog walk on Tuesday morning, it was like still really bright, like in the morning. And it's called the wolf moon. So it's a really, look into it. It's really interesting. Like the first one of 2022 is quite powerful. So if you've been feeling a bit like, then that might be why. Because it's in Cancer.
I can never sleep.
Cancer is all about emotional center. So the moods and stuff probably might
need to get your crystals out to recharge.
Yeah.
And be rid.
Exactly. Let it go. Right. Let me just quickly send Lee a message. And just say that we're getting going, and then I can press record just in case. I think she might have said that she had a work commitment on tonight, but if so, obviously she can catch a recording. Okay, so as we usually do, we will arrive and we'll start with a little meditation if that's all right with everyone, just because we need to settle and leave everything that isn't going to belong in this session tonight at the door. So feel free to get comfy, get kind of something on your shoulders if you want to feel cozy, turn your camera off. And it's going to be a little bit of an exploration into values, but hopefully it will help you arrive here. It's only about 5 minutes long. Okay. Are we ready? Oh, the lights have gone off, Ellie. Amazing. So I want you to just begin by getting comfortable as we always do. You might want to sit or lie down, close those eyes for me, or maybe focus your gaze on one spot in the room. You don't have to close your eyes if that doesn't feel comfortable. And then I want you to just start to relax that body for me. Start to relax, beginning with your feet. Allow a feeling of relaxation to fill your feet. Feeling heavy, loose, and relaxed. Relax those ankles, those lower legs, and relax those knees. And then allow the relaxation to continue relaxing up those upper legs. Let the muscles of your legs completely let go, feeling very heavy and very relaxed. And maybe just feel your whole lower body sinking into the floor or the chair. We're going to move on to relax those hips, the pelvis, and all of those surrounding muscles. Feel your stomach and lower back relax. The muscles giving up their hold and allowing you to sit fully into that chair. Now you feel that relaxation moving up your chest, back and sides, feeling very relaxed and very heavy. We're going to let those hands relax all the way from your fingertips to your wrists, and feel those lower arms relaxing and letting go of any stress from the day. Relax those elbows, those upper arms, so that they're loose and heavy. And moving on to those shoulders where we carry a lot of stress and anxiety. Maybe you want to move them a little bit. Wiggle out that stress. Feel them lower slightly because they're probably hunched up towards your ears. And find a comfortable, relaxed position, free from any tension. We're going to move to the neck. So allow the muscles of that neck to relax. You might want to give yourself a few neck rolls. And as you do that, just think about letting go and relaxing your face and head as well. Okay, so we're going to turn our attention inward for a moment now. Leave all of the distractions and noises from outside of ourselves and focus within, even more deeply inside. And we're going to start to uncover our authentic self. We're going to think a little bit about some of the work we've been doing this week on values and begin by reflecting upon maybe one or two of those values that come to mind. What is the most important thing to you in life? Where does your sense of right and wrong come from? Spend a little bit of time thinking about those values. Those values you have been thinking of make up part of the core of who you are. If you are being true to your values, these core beliefs will drive your behavior every single day. It feels good to behave in ways that are consistent with your values. For example, if honesty is something you value, this could be reflected in your life by being truthful. If you value your family, perhaps your life reflects this in the time you spend with them. Maybe think a little bit about those values that come to mind and think about how they show up in your day-to-day life. Now consider what else makes you who you are. Finding your authentic self involves learning who you truly are. Your authentic self is the real you, the person you are truly meant to be. Your authentic self is the person you are at the core, the person you can be if nothing holds you back. Imagine that person you believe yourself to be right now. It's okay if you're not quite sure who you are. Just picture yourself going about the things you usually do in a typical day. Imagine you watching yourself, observing yourself, going about your usual activities. Maybe you watch yourself getting up in the morning, going about your day, imagining the things you do in that typical day. Picture this person, you, standing in an empty room. Observe them. And now imagine if you could strip away all the things that hold you back from your full potential. They start dissolving and they become replaced with confidence and self-assurance. This person before you moves forward with ease and grace. Imagine this person standing in the empty room. What is left? Who is this person when all those barriers are stripped away? This person is you. You at your core. That pure character that's left when there's nothing to get in the way of complete self-expression. You may only have a vague picture in your mind right now, and that's okay. But let's try to focus on allowing it to become into focus a bit more, becoming more clear. Maybe let's think about your motivations and what motivates you, what drives your behavior, and what catches your interest. Maybe think about your personality and character traits. At your fullest potential, your simplest form with no fears, what traits do you have? Maybe you can think about this in terms of energy. Are you laid back and calm? Or are you energetic? Think about your other characteristics. Are you introverted or extroverted? Quiet or talkative? Are you creative? Are you practical? What sort of things do you appreciate? Who do you admire and what do you like? Spend a few moments with this image of your authentic self. I want you to allow yourself to step inside this image and fully become this person right now. Become who you are and who you were always meant to be. For this moment, just become your authentic, true self. Maybe you feel a sense of calm and serenity, secure in who you are, knowing who you are. You can take this authentic self with you, and it's available to you at any time. Allow your values, personality, and motivations to shine through every single day to guide your behavior, to make up who you are. Think of them as an internal compass. You have always been this person. You will always be this person. Confident, positive, a person you like and appreciate. Underneath the challenges, the baggage, and the demands of living daily life. Okay, it's time to reawaken now. Keep that image of your authentic self with you as you go about the rest of the session today and the rest of your week. So start to wiggle those fingers. Wake up those hands and those arms. Maybe move those toes and allow your feet and legs to wake up. Feel your muscles reawakening and your whole body filling with energy. And open your eyes and sit quietly for a moment whilst you become accustomed to your surroundings again, and then join me back in the room. It's my very loud boiler. I didn't know it was that loud. You notice everything, don't you, when it's so quiet? Welcome, Joe. Nice to see your face.
Yay! I was like, I'm back on my phone. I clearly can't use my laptop.
Oh, that's all right. Don't worry. At least we can see you. That's the main thing.
Yeah, good to see you.
How did we find that? How was it to vision ourself in our authentic self? Like, did that feel like an easy thing to do, or did we struggle to get there? Give me a sense of kind of how easy that was to fall into. Oh,
Ellie, you're on mute.
Thank you. I would have just carried on rambling for about 10 minutes. I think because I've done the value stuff in the last couple of days, like elements of that, I kind of found myself going to a place and I could connect somewhere. But then when you ask questions like, who do you admire? Who motivates you? My brain then goes back into like, oh, I need to answer all of these questions rather than just like being with
exactly the
things. Like I just need to sometimes like let it be rather than feel like I need to answer all of the questions.
Yeah, like not know the answer right now. Just allow yourself to kind of like be shown almost, but it's kind of your brain goes searching for the answer, doesn't it? Which takes you away from that kind of intuition place.
Yeah, I can see like the librarian up in my head, like manically going through the notes, and she doesn't need to do.
Yeah, it's like that mind is the calculator, right? Like it's always trying to like, but actually sometimes we don't need that right now. It's actually the answer will come. It doesn't need to come in that moment. And I think with things like this, it just takes a bit of time just to kind of, especially on a Wednesday when you've been rushing to make dinner and things like that, the mind chatter will be there. But I think it's making sure that authentic, that feeling like when we're in alignment is available to us, and more we'll move through and realize that actually it's about becoming more you more often, a lot of this work, right? So at the moment, like it might be that an hour of every day, like we're just completely in alignment and we're like living our life in alignment with our values, right? And it's like the goal is just to have more of that day that we're in that zone. We're always going to come off kilter, but it's about, bringing more of that authentic self. And that's what we're building, almost like a muscle. We're building the muscle of the authentic self. Okay, so we're just going to quickly do a bit of work around peak experience, because that was one of the tasks around the homework. And it's a really nice way to start with values. Does anyone want to share anything around the peak experience? Because I think this is a really nice one to kind of almost, we call it mining for values, because all of these things just help us go like searching for them, basically. Who wants to go first? Kelly, I'm going to pick on you. Look like you want to talk. And we missed you last week, Kelly. We missed you.
I've got my mouth full because I haven't eaten since
Oh,
lunchtime.
sorry.
So
I'm
can
sorry.
I go last? Because I'm just
Yeah,
I've come
cool.
straight from Beavers and in, and I'm just like,
Oh, bless you. Yeah, no problem. Sorry. Who wants to jump in? Any peak experiences we want to share? Or was this one quite hard?
Was this the one where you had to think of something that was really rewarding or poignant, that one?
Yeah, like it was almost a point in our time, in our life, when things were like really great. It's kind of one of those times, like a lot of people like give examples like when their first child was born.
Do you know, it's just
their wedding day, those kind of big things where you just have that feeling of like being on top of the world, where like everything, you know, tingling from head to toe there. Those kind of moments where you can look back and realize, wow, like what was it about that moment that was special? And there'll be some hints there, basically.
I think, yeah, for me, it was like having my kids and just knowing, look, I mean, I loved pregnancy as well. And then sort of having them at the end was the icing on the cake, I guess. But I also did something, because it said something poignant, something that could be sad as well. And for me, that was like, when when I went down to Cornwall last time my nana died, I knew that I wouldn't see her. And again, it was all things linked around family. So straight away, I started thinking about my value. I just started thinking family is obviously very important to me. So I guess they were sort of just really strong things that came into.
Yeah. And the opposite of peak experience is kind of, we call it a trough experience, and it's the extreme of that. It's when things were really, really hard, and actually it's remembering, okay, what wasn't in alignment there, or what was difficult about that time that again was linked to a value. So you've kind of done that by looking at kind of both of those extremes, because there's kind of information to be found in all of those highs and lows, really.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to share?
I don't mind sharing. My peak was when it was similar to Joe's with having my children, but it was actually at the point where, after recovering from my second C-section, I was able to take both children, both dogs, and my husband to the farm to meet my horse. And I took a real step back. And to be, and like I remember when I got married, someone said, take a step back and take a mental like picture of the day. And I took a step back from that, and I was stood in the field, and it was quite cold, but we were all there.
Yeah.
And I'm at my most peaceful when I'm there. And it was just that feeling of, this is happiness. And I just felt quite...
Almost you want to bottle it up, don't you? And like just put the lid on it. Oh,
and for me, that was just a really nice experience that I kind of just went, life's okay.
Wow.
Sorry.
That gives me goosebumps, doesn't it? And, you know, and I think a lot of those, like what I pick up from there is like the simplicity in that as well. Like, right. Like that's just, there's so much to offer there in just that beautiful moment that actually isn't about anything external. Like that was about those people and connection and those things that actually we maybe sometimes take for granted, because a lot of these values we get taught are outside of ourselves, and actually it's all within, but we kind of have to go searching to then realize, oh no, it's always here actually. You know, that whole time, but we kind of have to relearn that sometimes. Anyone else want to share the peak experience or the kind of the more difficult time that led them to any kind of rich information here?
I don't mind sharing. So I think peak experience, so aside from childbirth and conquering all of that, there's a couple of like holiday moments where like I felt truly like I can remember
travel for you is an adventure is really strong, isn't it?
Yeah, and just that feeling of like you say that chatter. I don't know what you referred to it as, something chatter, mind chatter.
Yeah.
And just like the sensation of like laying in a hammock and hearing the sea, and like just taking all of like those really, really small things in and connecting with all my senses, but like having no chatter up here, which like never happened. So yeah, there's a couple of like go back to moments there that are really
like, and I think, and that's a really powerful time, and it shows you actually how special that was, because actually we live in a world where actually that's very hard to kind of have those moments that we can completely just almost could be completely free of the mind, right? But it's something I think if it's important to us, we need to really fight for and protect as well. Awesome. Okay, and what about anything else on, we'll move on to kind of must-haves. So again, there was lots of different ways to mine for values in the homework this week. Some would have worked more than others. So it might be that the suppressed values, for example, maybe didn't resonate, or you found like the kind of the peak experience quite hard. But the idea is that we don't almost want to provide you with the list of like the words, because we want to kind of go hunting and searching for them. So I don't know if many of you have done the personal values quiz, the online one, but what I was going to do is put it in the chat and we can do it in the session today. Because what I think what might be really nice is for you to line them up against the ones you think you have, but almost then do it the right way around. Because I think sometimes when you do the quiz first, you take them on as your own. It's a bit like, oh yeah, well, they're mine. And actually, I want you to choose these. I want them to be chosen by you, for you. And actually, quiz is great, but it's not always the best way to do this. So I'll do that in a second. But does anyone have anything around the suppressed values or the must-haves that unlocked anything for them at all? Because again, different ways of searching.
I think when I went back to like some of my must-haves, or the things that I think I've always thought to be true, it's quite interesting because you kind of take yourself on a bit of a journey that kind of go, right, that's really important to me, but that's not like the be all and end all anymore, because I'm a little bit more grown up now and I'm a bit wiser, or I feel quite differently about things. So I kind of found myself connecting like a number of the values from the list I'd highlighted. So like families linked with loyalty and thoughtfulness. But then you kind of get like, you can just sit with it, can't you, for hours, like thinking it through, which
and I think as well, a lot of these are old, we talk about like old versions of ourselves, right? So like I went through, well, I am still going through a big transition. Like we all are always in a transition. And I think sometimes some of the values are attached to old versions of yourself as well. So it's kind of like, I always try and think of this as like, what are the values that are going to support who I'm becoming? That are going to help you move towards the person that you want to be, rather than kind of like maybe that you've outgrown. But values change as you change, and they will change with you, and they should evolve with you. And actually we'll get to the point where you'll have like 5 that you wear like a badge of honor, but actually if one of them gets put on the bench for a little while, like celebrate that, because actually a new one will come in. There's a real kind of like, I don't want you to feel like stuck by these, right? Because actually identity is fluid and we change all the time. Okay, so if you want to have a go at that quiz then, everyone, I've put in the chat box. It should take about 5 minutes or so. What I'll say, and it would be great to kind of line that up against what you thought you had and see if there's kind of some consistencies. What I would say is don't pick more than 10 words on the first page, because you'll be there all day. So only a maximum of 10. And then it basically uses a system where you compare values like this or that. And what I would say is go with the first thing that comes into your head. No mind calculator. Intuition. First thing, first response. Because if we start overthinking it, that's where, yeah, we're letting the mind kind of get too involved. Can everyone get through to that webpage okay? Cool. I'm going to do mine again too. I literally do mine every month. And then when you have done it and you've got the 5, if you just all pop them in the chat box for me, that'll be super useful. Remember not to think about it too much. I'm seeing lots of thinking faces. You're all like, it is tricky though, having when they're all important, right? Like to choose, you know, choosing between them is hard. So mine are. Okay. Okay. Let's give you guys just a few more minutes to finish that off. And I want you to just, whilst you're kind of waiting for everyone to finish, just think a little bit about how they line up to the ones you chose for yourself. And as a result, maybe you want to trade a few in, trade a few out. This is a kind of a moving pieces puzzle at the moment because nothing is fixed. But you might take a little bit from the quiz and amend things slightly, or you might say, no, actually, that doesn't resonate. I don't want to take that on as my own. But where do the two sets of values come together? Is there an alignment? And then we're just going to do a little bit of group coaching about how these feel next, because the words are one thing, but the feelings associated with the words are completely different. And that's what we need to try and tap into now, what that feels like when it's being honoured. Okay, Emma and Jo, how are you getting on? And Lauren, are you at the end?
I'm done.
You done?
Yeah.
Jo, how you doing?
Oh, I was just about to ask you, can it send me my results? And then I scrolled all the way down and
Honestly, that website's so good. It does, like, you can do a full report and compare them against how they all like link in. So I would go back to that website. It's really, really useful. Okay, does anyone want to share anything that was interesting about doing the quiz in this way compared to kind of choosing and owning your values through doing the homework? Any surprises?
I don't mind sharing. So mine were quite aligned. I was
Good.
quite surprised. 1 out of 5 came in my own list and the list that the website did, and both were at the top.
Interesting. Which one was that?
Respect.
Interesting. So that's really, really that. And again, let's think about the order of these, because actually they kind of need to be prioritized, because sometimes situations when you might not be able to honor them all at the same time. So it feels like that's kind of got podium position, respect. Yeah.
And then on my own one, at the bottom, I wrote ambition. And on that one at the bottom was determination. So
similar energy.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it was all, so my ones that I got from the quiz were respect, hold on, I just written down. Respect, peace, trust, security, determination. And my own ones were respect, honesty, family, loyalty, ambition. I feel like they're two.
Some synergies there. And a lot of this will be around what word is the right word, right? Because actually sometimes just words don't resonate. And I often give the example of, like, we could all have a value of adventure, and that looks so different to all of us. Mine could be reading a book and going on like a mind and inner journey and challenging my mind, and Ellie's could be traveling to Cambodia. Do you know what I mean? So I think it can look, and that's why it's great the word that we use the word, but actually it's about what does that feel like? Because actually that's how we get into the depth around these values, because actually, yeah, there's so much more that's available to us if we can tap into how that feels when it comes through in our life. Anyone else want to share any that maybe cropped up that you were like, oh, that's not mine, that you didn't agree with in any way? Obviously, I know you chose 10 initially, but anything that maybe was a bit of a contradict from initially the list that you worked through?
Peace, sorry, came up with for me, like peace.
And
Well,
that wasn't in your initial?
No, not really. Things like family, love and pleasure, that was all something I thought of originally, but actually peace was there. Maybe I do want a bit of calm and peace. I do talk about balance a lot. I don't know whether that's the same sort of thing. Sorry, I realised I was on mute before, Natalie, and you were asking me questions. I was answering them. I was on mute. I do.
Oh, were you? I just
it was so rude.
I thought you were like concentrating.
No, sorry, I was talking away. I was on mute. I do apologise. I'm not very good with Zoom.
Yeah, it feels like peace and balance are aligned, but again, it might be that one of them resonates more than the other. And I think, you know, the question to ask is almost, how does this show up in my life? And then it probably brings you back to then the right word, really. And this is what the first few weeks will feel like. It'll feel like a little jigsaw where like you're trying to get all the bits in and they don't quite fit, but then it will just get to a point where you're like, yeah, that feels like, and it might be 3, it might be 4, it might be 5, but actually don't worry at the moment if it feels a little bit kind of grey, because actually we're thinking about this for the first time. And it can be kind of, yeah, a lot to take on and own. What about you, Emma? Because I know you've done this with me before in some of the Oxford Health sessions. How did it feel doing this again? Has anything shifted?
Yeah, massively. I don't know I don't quite know what my values were last time I did them, but I remember when I shared them, I think they were like quite masculine, like security, independence, financial stability, all of that kind of like energy. And now I'm like, oh my God, I wish I still lived at home with my mum and she could do all my cooking and my cleaning. Yeah, but in terms of like my values now, the ones I came up with myself were, I don't know whether some of these are the right words for them, but the meaning is there in terms of acts of service, connectedness, creativity, growth, and spirituality. And then on the quiz, they're fairly similar, to be honest. They took me a long time to do because I'm slow tonight, but family, growth, spirituality, compassion, and creativity. So fairly similar.
Yeah. Okay. And just a question just on the spirituality, because I think that's something that is interesting, because it can mean lots of different things to different people. Like for you, how does that feel? Like, how does that show up in your life? Like, what does that mean to you? Because that one, like family as well, there's a few that need a little bit of inquiry so that we can get into like, what is it about that? Because that's quite an adventure as well, like quite a big one.
Yeah, so my family, like there are family members that I absolutely love, but I wouldn't say family is the right word, if that makes sense. It was just the best out of the bunch for me. So, and that really ties in with my own in terms of connectedness.
Yeah.
In terms of spirituality, I'm not someone who has particularly faith, but it's, I don't know, that sense of peace and calm that I have if I'm like watching the sunset and watching the sunrise, or I'm by the sea or on a walk.
A really nice way to kind of explain that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It feels like a connection to something bigger, maybe.
Yes, yeah, it really is. And I don't know, like Mother Nature type way, something that humans haven't yet destroyed, like the sunset, or like, you know, because if we could get hold of it, we probably would. So yeah, that's my spirituality, like. Yeah.
Thank you for explaining. And I think this is what like I want to work through, and I'll do a little bit of this in a group, and then we'll go into some breakouts and actually just work through that with one other person on one value. Because for me, that leads me into a really nice daily action for you around sunset, right? Like, yeah. How often in your week can you protect some time to get out to watch that sunrise or sunset? For me, that's a non-negotiable action that actually brings through that value into your life. Do you see how they can now then link into like almost your personal diary of how you map your week and protect that time for you to be you? That's a really nice example.
Yeah. So
some days are harder than others. At the moment, would you say, like, how often? Once a week?
What do I watch the sunset?
Yeah, how much time do you, how often do you think you get to enjoy things like that?
Not very often, because it's getting darker like 5, and I'll often like I watched it set over Donington Bridge today. That's what I was driving home. So like I was able, and I was driving along actually Donington Bridge this morning, and I was like, oh, sunrise looks pretty. So I was able to kind of make the most while sat in a traffic jam. And I'm really lucky in terms of the way my flat faces, because the sun sets actually through my Velux windows. So like, and it creates a nice pink light. So yeah, in there I am able to kind of make
enjoying it kind of in your own way, even if it's kind of not as like within the summer, you'd maybe go on a walk and have that more intentional.
Yeah, I mean, ideally I'd be out walking, but yeah.
Yeah, I've been known to do that, like just pulling over, like the moon looks so pretty, and I'm there, like, you know, probably causing an accident. Gets very excited by the moon. Awesome. Okay, Kelly, I'm going to pick on appreciation, if that's all right. Will you tell me a little bit more about that one? Or is it something you want to own? Do you want to just talk through one of your values in a bit more detail?
Well, what was interesting, the few, like the love and the family came out on both, and then I don't know whether like the appreciation comes with the like appreciation on the test, but with happiness, and whether I'm constantly trying to find that inner happiness, and I don't know whether I'm striving to be appreciated, or don't feel appreciated, if that makes sense. But I don't know, it's a weird one with appreciation, because it's, well, whether I'm striving for it or whether I'm trying, like seeking it, or whether I expect to be. Like, is
it outward or inward? Because a lot of these can be like appreciation felt by others, or like internal appreciation. They have like two different perspectives. I'd kind of sit with that through the week, like maybe again asking questions at the end of the day, like, did I feel appreciated?
And I wonder whether it's me appreciating the fact that life is busy, sometimes appreciating the fact that, like I said today, I haven't had a moment. And actually, I'm appreciating just being able to sit down now and actually just I've literally gone farm, nursery, school, work, farm, beavers here.
Yeah.
And actually appreciating just
sitting down and having,
because my head feels busy. And so it might be appreciation in the sense of appreciating that sometimes days are busy and acknowledging it in that way, rather than it being about someone else.
It feels a bit like almost forgiveness, or like acceptance, you know, of like of the messiness and the, you know, because actually once we kind of surrender to that of like, oh, it's not all going to like look a certain way. So explore that a bit more and think about which word it might resonate the most there. Because it seems like there's a bit more to uncover. And then Joe, I'm going to kind of focus on family, because for me, family and health are really, really general, big umbrella ones. What is it about family in particular? Like, how is that honored? Because that can be honored through lots of different ways in your life. So how would you bring that through and ensure that that's being honored as a top value for yourself in the week?
I think, well, this week, like on Monday, I thought, okay, family is important to me, but I find that I'm rushing. It comes back to balance a bit as well. I'm rushing around loads. So on Monday, I was like, how am I going to honor something in my family? So Libs and I did yoga together at the end of the day. I was like,
nice. Libs and I did a really nice one, because you bring two together there, two birds, one stone. So you'll see the interconnectedness of sometimes one is achieved through the other. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? Sometimes there's one that actually opens out another, and then you kind of have access to then something else that falls out of it. So you'll start to notice these kind of subtle links between them all as well.
Yeah, I'm just trying really hard, because my family, I know it is so important to me, but life often gets in the way. Like, and I'll come back and get the dinner ready and get the kids' stuff ready for tomorrow night. Just like, no, I'm going to just focus on family, and just Libs and I did that. And even at work now, I'm like, I'm not going to spend an extra half an hour doing this. I'm going to go back and be with the family. What can I do with them when I get? So I'm already starting to try and make time, because I know you said try and think, so this week I thought, let's see what those little shifts feel like. And me and Liv's just had a laugh trying to move with Adrian on Monday. And it was really nice.
I love that you've been able to kind of honour that straight away. I
just giving it a go. I thought, is this, because I keep thinking, oh, I want balance and creativity. There's something I want in my life, but actually a value. It is family. It's going to watch Archer's football on Sunday. Sometimes we're like, Drew, you go do footy. I went this Sunday. It was amazing. I saw Archie score a goal. So I'm just trying to make sure I'm doing those things, if that makes sense, and enjoying them more.
And also, you've kind of got to do it and be it to then know if it's yours, right? Because sometimes you're like, you do it and you're like, oh, no, this isn't mine, right? It doesn't feel right. You've got to like try it on almost. And then it's like, oh, does this feel like mine? Yeah, okay, I'm good. Like, that's what this whole next few weeks is about. Like trying these on, testing them out, putting the yes and the no's in place, and then almost like then making a commitment to then like walk forward with it in your life. And actually you might try a few on and they don't feel right, and that's okay. Awesome. Okay, let me do one more with Ellie, because you've got the same one as me, authenticity. So talk me through that, because again, that's quite an umbrella. That could be lots of different things to lots of different people. Maybe give me an example, putting you on the spot there, of maybe a way you've honoured that in the last few weeks. Would you?
So that one I don't think I've, oh no, I probably have honoured it. So those ones came out of the quiz.
Okay, did you take that one or not?
So I think, basically adventure and family aligned like top two, so they are definite. And then the quiz said excitement, courage, authenticity. But in mine, I'd had make a difference, connectedness and growth.
So, okay. So it might, growth or authenticity probably are the same, but it's about what word resonates. So talk to me a bit about how maybe you would test that out in your life over the coming weeks.
Yeah, so I suppose like there's a few things I do at work, like mentoring or helping others, where like people have come to me with it rather than me investing the time, but kind of just reacting like a human being, and people being quite surprised by some of those reactions of like, oh, I thought you were going to like give me the corporate stuff, and I'm not, we're just human beings. Like, what are you expecting? And
it feels really powerful to actually like bring that side of yourself as well.
Really, and to also like see people's reactions to that, because it's like actually there's no magic. Like you just have to be you. And to be able to,
the beauty happens, bring all of yourself, and that's
absolutely. And you feel like super okay with that. So I think there's like lots in work that probably like spring out, less so maybe day to day, but maybe I'm just not very conscious of it. So I think it'd be something that, like you say, like trying it on or seeing if
and there might be certain values like out of your list might only be present in certain situations, and that's okay. They might not all have like a theme through in every area of your life. So.
Although sometimes I do think it, like courage, authenticity, like I think I've talked last week about like that imposter syndrome and that kind of constantly seeking validation from external factors of like who I am, and actually deep down like I want to be courageous, I just want to be myself, and that's okay. So sometimes it's perhaps dealing with some of that subconsciously, like I'll go into the toilet and I'll do the power stance if I've got like something scary or I've got a nervous call to make, and maybe actually things like that, that's just me being me, and I need to be okay with that rather than apologize for it.
And I think it comes back to that kind of true authentic self, doesn't it? As we move through this journey, you'll kind of start to embrace those maybe more broken bits that actually make you more human and more you and more like real. Because like I was saying with the ADHD, like initially for me that was quite a hard label to wear, but then I was like, hang on a minute, there's so much power in the creativity of my crazy mind. But actually, you know, that label could have been seen in so many ways. And it's about getting to the point of like embracing the broken bits that kind of really make you special. And that's a process we're going on here. It's not about removing the stuff that feels icky. It's about supporting the whole of you, because it all has a place here as well. Okay, so your next task next week is to go into a bit more detail with them, and it's about how do they show up in your life. So it's a little bit more accountability around like I want to see them. I want to hear them. I want to be told about them. I want to be told about the times that maybe you tried it on and actually it didn't resonate. I want to be told about the times that maybe you had to make a difficult decision to kind of keep honoring this value, right? It's about living our life by them a bit more rather than just kind of thinking about them. It's really different. And what we're going to do is start to explore this briefly now. So the question I want to ask you to kick us off is, which of those values from either of your lists is the value? Actually, I'll ask you to rate them all. I want you to rate them all from 0 to 10. 0, we're not honoring them at all. 10, I'm honoring it completely. And feel free to rate them all if you're not sure which ones are on your list at the moment, because this gets you thinking about how present are they at the moment. So 0, not at all. 10, completely. And don't worry if you've got 0s and 1s, it's all good. I had someone the other day that had all 10s. I was like, it's amazing. Well, we can probably try and make it 11, right? Like, and I want you to put the lowest one in the chat, if that's all right. And this is the one we're just going to do a little bit of paired work on. And this is a general week, right? Like, so an average week in your life. Because I know some weeks it will be different and there will be variations, or maybe just last week as an example. And for me, my lowest one was peace, and that's my top value. So slap wrist. But I am making steps to kind of realign that. So I'm taking away one of my hats. I've got 3 hats at the moment, which was meant to be going down to 2 in April, but I have brought it forward. So it'll be 2 hats in February because of the importance of peace. So it just shows sometimes it always slips, right? But as long as we can come back to them and hold ourselves to account, that's what it's all about. Okay, Ellie, interesting one, courage. Can you talk to me a bit about that one? Because courage for me, yeah, could mean, again, like lots of things. Is that why it's low? Because maybe you need to explore what that means? Or
So I think I need to explore it more. I also think I do so much shit that doesn't make me happy, but I feel like I should, for like maybe a known reason, or maybe I've just fallen guilty to like just doing it for people.
Yeah.
And actually, if I like gave myself a real pep talk every morning and said, like, what's the one thing that I'm really not looking forward to having to do today? And like, why don't I just not do it? How empowering could that be? I mean, it could go horribly wrong, but
yeah.
like, I think I allow life to just happen to me rather than me take the reins of that sometimes. And
yeah,
I'd probably, like, if the shoe was on the other foot, I'd always give people like the advice of like, why are you doing that? You don't want to and you don't enjoy it, so stop. And I carry on. So maybe something in that.
Yeah, so there's something about, and then for me that's really linked to authenticity, actually, in terms of like the courage to be authentic. So one isn't gained without the other, right? There's an access through courage into authenticity there, which is how they all link. And I think one thing I will mention, and we'll go on to this next week, but they all have a no associated, right? So boundaries, we love boundaries. Boundaries are very clear if you know your values, because they tell you what you shouldn't do. Because actually, if you know what the opposite of family is, when family isn't being honored and it's working late, say Joe, working that extra hour, then actually you know the no, and you know the boundary that needs to come in place, right? You kind of got the no excuses of like, well, I know I need to say no to that friend that always complains about her situation but doesn't make a change, and you come away and it drains you, and there's a conflict of a value being trod on there. So, you know, there's almost, it gets to a point where there's no excuses, right? Because we kind of know that this isn't working for us, but that takes courage. And this is why this process, we stay here like 2-3 weeks, because it's one thing knowing them, behaving in line with them, and then almost putting a boundary in place is very different. And firstly, that can become really uncomfortable. And I think, Jo, you mentioned a friend that you apologized to or something, and you were just like, no, you know, I can't do this anymore, right? And I think let's celebrate those first no's that come from values, because the first one won't feel easy, but I tell you and promise you, it will become second nature, and it'll feel so freeing to be able to just operate your life from that place. You know, and that just don't expect it to come overnight. There's a process to go through here. Emma, so do you want to choose one of those, creativity, spirituality, or do you want to, if you had to say which one kind of is really not being honored at the moment, which one would you choose?
I don't know. I think equally they're both not being honored. I've rated them the same.
Okay. Bring one when I'm just going to quickly put you into groups. Just
Okay.
pick one for the group session.
Pick one. Okay.
And what I want you to do is work through a process together. So you'll have about 2 minutes each. You're going to explain a little bit about your lowest value, and then as the coach, the other person in that room, you're going to help that person work through a yes statement of something they're going to commit to that's going to bring them closer to honoring that value in their life next week. And it's a real next week thing, so we can come back next week and be like, did we do that? You know, I'm going to have this conversation with someone at work. Like, it's really specific. The more specific, the better, because actually you're each other's accountability. Okay, so I'm just gonna, I always with breakout rooms let the universe decide. So I'm gonna let the universe decide who's with who. And you should, yeah, and then one of you will be with me. That's right. So yeah, you should get an invite. And like I say, actually, I'm gonna change them slightly, only because Lauren and Ellie
are together.
Yeah,
Natalie, I was going to ask you quickly. That's
Yeah.
Ellie. If like security,
Yeah.
that isn't mine. So do I still talk about it, even though I
What
don't?
do you mean it's not yours? As in,
I don't. It came out of the quiz, and I don't necessarily.
Yeah, don't use that one then. I'd use one
Okay.
that you feel like you want to own, or at least be open to exploring more. Yeah, because it not, you know what I mean? You don't want to, if you know you don't want to, let's not. So yeah, pick maybe the second lowest.
Second one. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Right, let me shimmy these around a bit. And then, like I say, I'll send a message to switch. But yeah, you'll spend about 2 minutes on each. Off you go. Enjoy. Cool. And you are with me.
Hello.
Hello. How are you? How are you getting on?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. We've talked about appreciation, so I don't know whether, because actually when I looked at appreciation, I didn't know whether.
Yeah, do you want to pick another one then? Because it might give you another perspective. What was another one that you feel like you could do more work on?
Happiness, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And is there a time that you feel like that has been a 10 that you can think back to recently, or not recently, but?
Do you know what? It's more the living in the now, but like I'm constantly looking ahead to the next hour, the next day, or like everything seems to be rushing, and I'm trying to find a bit of happiness in everything that I do, and I know that I need to do it, but it's just like I've started trying to meditate. Because I have been finding happiness in morning meditation and evening meditation to just take that minute. But it's just, my happiness element, if we're going to go down sort of that one, is that I'm meeting up with some friends on Friday who haven't been making me happy recently. And, you know, it's that whole journey of some friendships serve its purpose for the time.
Might be outgrowing it, and actually, what's the cost, I guess, of hanging on to that for you? But there's a process to go through of it takes time, doesn't it? So don't be hard on yourself if you're not quite ready to have those difficult conversations.
Yeah, and I want to find happiness. I think I want to find happiness within the group, but I'm constantly finding, and I don't know whether it's different, but lots of different values because I don't feel appreciated by them. And I think
that's a really important one for you. We keep coming back to that. I think that's
Mm.
crucial, that you need to have people around you that make you feel that. It feels like that's almost a top value internally, but also you appreciating your life. I think that works both ways, you feeling appreciated, but almost appreciating the small things in your life as well.
And I think that's the difference with the appreciation, is that I want to appreciate what I have, not be striving for people to appreciate me. Like, I don't, like, I will do anything for anyone, but I'm not doing it because I want them to go, oh, thank you, or appreciate. I expect that that's just...
you're a lovely empath. I think this comes back to the initial conversation, Kelly, around like you being that highly sensitive person, right? Of like, some people just aren't programmed like that. And actually they probably just don't, they're not on your level. They don't even kind of have that level of awareness. But actually, like, you deserve people that will give to you what you would give to them. Right?
Just being kind, like that whole be kind.
Yeah. For you, that's just who your makeup. But I think as I've moved through my life, like, I've realized not everyone is like that, and that's okay, but they're just not my people. And you'll know when it is the time to let go of that. So give me a commitment of a yes in terms of something you can actively do to bring yourself closer to that value of happiness next week.
I think actually, rather than it, because it doesn't have to be an end of a friendship, but actually just appreciate what the friendship is. So actually go with the mindset that I want to just enjoy, feel happiness in that moment with some people who are my friend, not be looking at it, reading in too much into it, not be seeking that I have expectations for them. I just want to enjoy some happiness for then, for now, and just embrace that, rather than be sensitive to what someone said to me or read into too much of what someone hasn't said. Just accept that it's a night out, because I can feel I'm getting anxious around it.
Yeah, that feels really freeing. I think I'll definitely check in with you next week about how that's gone, because I think how you get on in that scenario will tell you a lot about actually what is important, and that even if that's quite hard for you, it might tell you, well, actually, like, the friends just kind of have to go. But if you can be that, show up in that way where actually you bring yourself that freeing feeling, I think that sounds like a really great point to get to. It doesn't mean these people have to be cut out of our lives, but we're changing our perspectives around some of the stuff that makes us feel good, aren't we, really? It's just adjusting the thermometer slightly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And just sort of like when I think Ellie was saying, it's about, I want to stop apologizing for being the way I am, apologizing for, oh, I've not done this. Actually,
we
just
can hold you to account for too as a group.
Just own it, that it is what it is, because otherwise it's just that spiral. And I've definitely, just in the last few weeks since we've been doing this, recognizing more of me as a person, rather than just each day and the stress. Actually, just
little things that you're like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. Tiny little shifts. Right, I'm going to bring us back, and I think obviously I'll just point over to you in terms of sharing that yes in terms of Friday and that commitment to just go and into that situation with no expectation, which I'll definitely hold you to account on. Right, I think we've got a minute anyway. And yeah, sorry you weren't able to attend last week.
Oh yeah, it's just
to record it, but at least hopefully, are you coming next week?
Yeah, what I'm gonna do is just not go to Beavers and see if my husband will go with
that's the only session we'll do in person.
Yeah, and I really want to come, so I'll try and get a baby, like try and get my mum over or something. It's
the only one, because Santosha's actually closing.
Oh, I saw, that's really sad.
So it's the only one, so you won't have to worry about that like after next week, but it'd be lovely to have you.
I did miss it.
It's all right. I know we can still have a catch up on that though at some point, just so you feel like you've been able to embed the child.
It was good getting the letters and writing the letter. There was so much power in doing it. It was really good. Yeah.
Awesome.
Right.
I'll see you in a second.
See you in a second.
Hi. Oh, are we swapping? I don't. Is it just you and me, Kelly, or is it all of us? It's all of us.
I think
yeah. was like, I've just got Kelly on my screen. I was just saying to Ellie, I can't do Zoom. I'm absolutely ridiculous on it. So do excuse me if I do random things.
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry. I think you've done well. Right. I'm just aware of time because I've got excited like I always do with value. So we're just going to quickly head around the room and share the yes that you're all going to be leaning into and committing to and holding ourselves to account on over the next week. No worries, Lauren. Do you want to kick us off, Kelly? Because you were with me.
Yeah, so mine is just about, it was kind of a little bit appreciation, a little bit happiness, but I have a friendship group that I'm not sure whether is served its time and feeling a bit sad about it. And like, I'm constantly trying to measure with expectations and that feeling, and actually what I want to go in, we're getting together on Friday, we're going out for dinner, and it's appreciating the now. So my yes is to actually go with no expectations, no reading into what someone has or hasn't said, and rather than kind of feeling too emotional about it, just actually find some happiness and appreciation for going out, having food, having decent company, and having a laugh, rather than me being my overly sensitive self and being apologetic for it. So that's my commitment of what I want to achieve by next week.
And it's a great way to just dive in and understand, like, if that served you or not, right? Like, you might come out of that and realize, I don't want to wear that. No, I want to go in and be my highly sensitive self and own all of this, right? But like, actually, let's test that, and actually let's come back and ask you. So we'll ask you next week how that felt. All right, Joe, over to you. What's yours? What's your yes?
I am going to, I'm not unmuted, I'm just checking. I am going to book a singing lesson, and I am going to try and have a singing lesson if they can get me in, but definitely have booked it and paid for it. So I'm developing, going back to my creativity.
Oh, amazing. I love that. And we talked about that last week as well. So
yeah.
That feels like a really current one that is a real, like, that's strong, isn't it? That we know that that's an important step to make. Amazing. Nice and bold.
Gonna do it.
Yeah, awesome. Emma, what about you?
Mine was quite similar to what I've already spoken about, really. I think just that I need to go for a walk daily, or like just actually consciously like watch the sunrise or watch the sunset or something. Yeah, so one of those three.
Yeah, amazing.
I'm not very decisive tonight, sorry.
That's all right, don't worry, and it's all good. And I think that it's really great that there's similar themes there coming up, because I think you already know. It's just kind of like, for me, on that day that maybe you don't want to kind of put the coat on and go out, like, what's the cost of not doing that? That's the question to ask yourself in that moment. Maybe like Joe, when you're panicking, when you're like, oh God, why am I phoning them? What's the cost of not doing this today? That's the question that like might just help us get into action, because it is scary, right? Because our mind's trying to keep us safe. Our mind's like, Emma, it's cold, we don't want to go out there, what are you thinking? You know, so just be aware of that. Ellie, what about you?
So mine, similar to what I've talked about. So I'm going to take 5 minutes before I start work or whatever I'm doing each day and write down my moment of courage for that day. So it could be something that I'm going to say no to, or I don't know, and then just see what that does.
Amazing. So it's almost like a daily connection to kind of bringing that through and feeling that, because that's like training a new habit, right? Consistency is key, which is why, you know, this is the daily action piece around this is really important, or the weekly action, or the repetitiveness of these are important, because that's how they become then part of our life. And I love like that reminder around like, our life doesn't just change, it's through those daily actions, because sometimes we're trying to really shift the big stuff, but actually it's those tiny little habits that, you know, we do every single day that change our lives. Awesome. Lauren.
Sorry, I made it back on this as quickly as I could. So mine is peace. So I am going to reinforce my boundary of bedtime with my children, and then have me time. And that doesn't mean I go back and start working again. I'm going to stay away from screens and try and read a book.
Oh, read a book. Amazing. And
I haven't read for such a long time.
It'd be good to try on reading a book, because actually that might not give you that feeling of peace. So check in on that and think, is this peace? How does this feel like? Because actually for me, peace is a lot about me being in my body. So yoga is like a really good connection to peace. But actually you might find that reading actually doesn't give you that feeling. So then what I say is throughout the week, maybe change it up and do something different, journaling, or Do you know what I mean? Don't kind of feel fixed on reading if that
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it, especially because you're saying I haven't read for ages. Be flexible with what that looks like, that beautiful time for yourself. Might be having a bath one night, for example.
Or writing. I enjoy writing as well. So
there's a few different options there, and this becomes your self-care toolkit. On different days you can pull out different things, because actually you're not always going to want the same thing.
I could try yoga. I've never done yoga, so
I just love yin and lying there, basically. Like, they're my faves. I just don't want to lie. I just go drive somewhere for half an hour to lie down in a room and then come home. That's bliss for me. Okay, amazing, everyone. Just aware of your time. Can I just check with everyone that we're happy to do another session in person next week? I know Ellie's away with work. Everyone else is happy to come along. So we'll see how we go. It'd be good to, if we can, get a drink after, just see how people go, just because obviously I know there's lots of little people around, but we'll see how we go. I have asked Yasmin, Ellie, around the space for March. She's gonna get back to me, but we will meet again. Don't worry, this won't be the last time, but we'll kind of confirm what that will look like, because obviously February we flip back to being the whole month online, because that's where Lizzie joins us from up north. So yeah, let me come back to you on what that kind of future plan looks like. But yeah, let's aim for 7:30 next week, Santosha. And this week's all about deepening this. So it's about really acting and living our life by these in the week, and bringing some examples about where it works and where it didn't. You know, celebrating the bits that didn't work as well, because actually you can celebrate the fact that we tried them on and we didn't want to take it forward. Okay. So everyone, thank you so much for your time. I can't believe these sessions go so quickly every week. I am usually stick around 5-10 minutes. If anyone wants to hang around, discuss anything that maybe they need to work through, because I know it can be a lot of information, please do. I will stick around. But for those that need to run, you're free to leave, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. I'll send out that email, which is obviously your next journal prompt, and you just head down to finish 1.2. So you basically don't touch any of the leader within stuff. Okay, so we don't go anything near there. We stop at leader within. Amazing. Enjoy. Lovely to see you all.
bye. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.